Right. Good afternoon, everyone, and good evening or good morning or afternoon for those joining us virtually and for the recording. My name is Jack Crutchfield Jr. I'm the regional tech trainer of the Maryland, DC region, and Zach is on travel today. So that means we are going to have some awesome fun. This will be a nice, quick session and very interactive with those joining us live. We're going to pop some things inside of the chat and share them and kind of mastermind around activity tracking. Inside of Command, we now have the ability to access activity tracking for solo agents. Now, it was a feature that was already released for some of our teams. Now we have it available for our solo agents. And we're going to spend today's session going over the how-tos and where to find our activity tracking and how to enter in that data, and then kind of mastermind what are some best practices of our agent tracking and what can we talk to our fellow agents as well as tech trainers to our agents of how we can coach them around entering in their details. As always, we understand what the housekeeping rules are. You may raise your digital hand if you have a question, pop the question into the chat. I'll definitely take a look at it throughout this session, and we'll be happy to answer any and all questions you all may have. So we still have some guests coming in, so no worries if we have to go over something again. We're more than happy to do so. So let's pull up Command, and then I'm going to log in and start from the homepage. So I'm just going to share screen. All right, and now we're going to expand this. All right. So can everyone see the screen here? Can we see the Command home screen? Awesome. We got some head nods. Great, great. So from here inside of our homepage in Command, we want to navigate to our settings area because we want to know where can we turn on our activity tracking as well as manage our activity tracking when it comes to our days off and our work days. So from here, we want to go to the top right of our Command home screen, select our name so that we may matriculate into settings. So now we've selected our name, we have selected settings, and now we're moving into our settings area. To get to the activity tracking area, we want to navigate over on the left-hand side of the screen where we see general settings, command settings, and connect. We want to select command settings. After selecting command settings, now we see the opportunity, or excuse me, the option of selecting reporting. Once we select the reporting dropdown, we also see activity tracking here. So again, settings, command settings, drop-down reporting, and then activity tracking.
When I click on that reporting, nothing opens up.
Nothing opens up. It's just a blank. It doesn't say
Correct.
activity tracking.
Correct.
Okay. So this was potentially a feature that was supposed to be released on the 21st. Now, if it's been pushed back, then of course, yay, because they're recalibrating some things. However, let's take a look at, first, we want to take a look at reporting. And then from here with the activity tracking, if you don't see it, I'll lab it right now together, and then we're going to hop into task. That was the next part we're going to go through, activity tracking and then task. So for reporting, once you click your drop down and you go into activity tracking, this is somewhat of the same calibration as the team tracking, where you have reminder settings, you also have work days, and you also can set your days off. So within the activity tracking, you can always keep yourself accountable by toggling this section on and off. Also, for reminder settings, this is just the ability for you to actually send a daily reminder to submit your activity, whether it will send you a daily reminder at 2 p.m., 9 a.m., whatever you would like to set it up as. And then also, you have the option of setting activity should be submitted by a certain time. You can also customize how many reminders will be set up here under here. So I have set, send me 2 reminders, send me a daily reminder at 2 p.m. and then send me another one up to 2 reminders at a time up until the due time, which is 6 p.m. Work days and days off are pretty self-explanatory. You just set the reminders on these work days. Your scheduled work days, I have Monday through Friday. Those are my work days. And then also you have days off where you can set reminders on these dates to say you would not receive any reminders on these days because either they're holidays, birthdays, anniversaries, so on and so forth. So you can click edit days off, and then it will also show you the dates you have currently. And you can also add a date here. Once you apply those changes, you can always come back into your activity tracking area inside of reporting to set that. So that was set to release as of last week. I'm not sure if that was actually pushed back due to family reunion. However, that is definitely on the roadmap for the next couple of days to come. So now we want to move into our reports. So I'm going to click the command red button here so that I can move into reports so that we can see where we will actually enter in this information. And then we're going to move into task. So now I'm clicking on the reports applet. And now once you have the activity tracking active, under the reports dashboard, you can also see now the activity button is active. You will find that in between goals and lead routing. Again, once we activate the activity button, we'll see it between goals and lead routing. So now once we select activity, then we will be able to see the overview of all of the activity that was submitted, as well as the hours spent, conversations you've had, the appointments you set, the agreements you've won, the contracts that you're under, as well as how many closings you have. Now, for example, it will always show you the week view for the activity tracker. So if there's no activity submitted for the week, it will let you know starting on your first work day. So for this example, this is the week of February 28th, moving into March, and I haven't submitted any activity for Monday. So to do so, I will find Monday's date on the calendar, select submit activity. And then once I do so, then now it's going to pull up a new screen to say, hello, agent, tell us about your day. This information will be available in command. Now you will submit the activity for the day, which is Monday's date. You can say, how was it? Did you have a good day or bad day? Had a pretty decent day, so I'm gonna have a smiley face. How much time did you spend finding new clients? Well, I spent 3 hours on that lead generating. How many did you physically talk to? Well, I talked to about 8 people. What did you do to find them? Well, I did a call, did a SOI outreach, also sent something on social media, and then I did something with Twilio to actually send out text messaging. Okay, great. Is everyone you spoke to or spoke with captured in your database? Well, yeah, now they are. I had to send a text message to them. So yes, they're in their database. So now it breaks down to the nitty gritty where it asks you how many new appointments did you set today for buyers and sellers? How many appointments did you attend to? How many new agreements did you get signed today? How many contracts did you write today? Then how many closings did you have today? So that will always be an option to select. So I set 3 buyer appointments, 2 seller appointments. I attended no appointments today. I didn't have any agreements yet. I didn't write any contracts yet. And then I didn't have any closings because I just set these 5 appointments. So now I'm going to say submit. And it says, thanks, glad to hear about your fabulous day. Want to see your GCI based on today's activities. Now, if you say calculate, then now from here, you get to calculate your projected GCI. So it always, and remember, your projected GCI is an estimate. For the most accurate calculations, speak with your MCA, of course, or speak with your TL. So it gets very, very detailed with the activity tracker And then you can also go back to the dashboard from the top right, which is the actual command dashboard. But in this case, we're just going to go back into reports for the time being. So again, this was set to release last week. And if you do not see it, stay tuned for that release. But before we move on, we want to take a question. Tom, you have your hand raised?
Yes, thank you. This would be helpful in my own personal analysis of what I'm doing and the results. I'm curious to know who else has access to this information.
Have access to the activity tracker or access to
My personal activity tracker.
So for your personal activity tracker, you only have actual access to this. Now, if you were a part of a team or a real estate team or your productivity coaching department, then there will be a rainmaker, which will either be the director of productivity coaching or the rainmaker of a team. They will also be able to see your team's activity tracking. So anything that our buyers agents or listing agents enter into the activity tracker, you can see that. But for the individual and for the individual agent, for the solo agent for tracking, you have this information.
So this isn't something that corporate takes a look at to estimate our production capacity, et cetera.
So, right. So only if so like it said in the screen capture before this one, it said that this is just your projected GCI. So to actually calculate your current GCI or year to date, then yes, your market center, your MCA should have that information for you. Yes. So as far as activity tracking of how many appointments did I set today, or how many listing appointments did I go on, or how many closings I've had, inside of the activity tracker for a solo agent, you have access to that, not the market center. Great question. Now, before we actually move on to our task and kind of understand how that ties into the command app as well, let's just kind of take a moment to mastermind. What would be some of the things we can pop into the chat? You can raise your digital hand or you can unmute yourself. And thank you again, Tom. You started an amazing discussion for us. So what would be some of the things that we can actually enter into our activity track and say we're a solo agent, or some of you all are solo agents. So let's just kind of mastermind around this. What are some of the things that you would like to add outside of the number of appointments you set, the number of appointments you kept, as well as, how your day was or how many closings you have? What are some other things you would love to see inside of your activity tracker that you would like to submit? Again, pop it into the chat, raise your digital hand. You can unmute yourself, and let's just have a discussion real quick.
It would be helpful to be able to see, I think, to be able to have just a brief overview of what, for example, if it was a meeting, what the conversation was about, and perhaps a link to click to set the follow-up. Does that make sense?
Yes. So now what I'm hearing you saying is after we have entered in the data of how many appointments we actually set and when on, then there should be a button to activate the next step for a follow-up.
Yeah, specific to a contact, because this is just an overview, right? This is not, we're not in this summary, we're not identifying with whom we had a meeting, are we?
For the activity tracker, you're not necessarily identifying the who. That will be more so of what we're moving into for tasks that relates to a contact. So once you actually add the task in that I've met with this person, or hey, I have a follow-up, or I'm scheduling a stager for this particular listing, then yes, that activity will tie into their contact card for this specific, say, if this specific seller or this specific listing opportunity, I have a task set or I have information set because yes, we have had our appointment this week. However, now I can by task enter in that particular contact, associate that particular seller to say, we've met this week and this is the notes that came from it. So activity tracker is pretty much just an extra accountability measure within command to make sure that we are setting our appointments, are setting our goals and really nailing at a high level like we are. but it's also an extra added accountability to tie into, well, are my numbers adding up and matching up to my task and my goals? And are my words matching where my feet are going? Right? Is really, so like for a lot of us, maybe on the call or maybe watching virtually, we're good with accountability. I know who I want to follow up with. I know who I'm meeting with. I know where we're going. I know what the status is of this particular transaction or transactions. I just want to find a place where I'm able to actually enter in that task. I want to find a place where I'm actually entering in the timeline and the list of what I have done with the said person. Or if it's time for me to automate a follow-up or automate a opportunity update, I can do that. I just need to know not only where I'm going, but actually entering in that data so that I am following up at a high level. I am checking off my task list, making sure that I have completed my duties. So that makes, I think that makes total sense as well, Tom. I really do. And for, again, activity tracking, like I said, it's just the added measure to our accountability. And it definitely ties into task and where we're going in the next couple minutes. But let's get some more feedback. What would be some of the other things you would love to enter inside of your, your activity tracker? Because again, we have hours spent lead generation, how many conversations we've had, how many appointments we set and kept, how many agreements we've won, how many contracts and closings we've had. What are some other things we would love to enter into our accountability tracker or activity tracker? Jessica, I see you. Did you have something? No one else? Awesome. Awesome. So let's hop back into Command. And what we want to take a look at inside of Command is, if we're not aware or if we haven't gone through it, we have a new filter and a new look and feel for contact task as well as opportunity task. And this kind of ties into what we were just talking about and mentioning as far as identifying the specific said contact. Okay, I've logged in all of my stats of how many appointments I've kept, how many hours I spent lead generation and gaining new business. However, how do I get very intentional about making sure that I have tasks related around a specific contact so that I know where I left off or where I am with said contact or with said client? And we can do so inside of inside of tasks for contact tasks as well as opportunity tasks. And before I share my screen, another beautiful thing is we can also tie this into our Command app. Yes, some of the same things we can enter in and enter for our contact task, opportunity task within our Command app. We can also see that data and edit or complete or delete that same data inside of our Command standard within our Command core, which is in laptop, desktop form. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. And for me to get to this area, I've clicked the red KW so I know where I'm going, and then I selected the task applet. So now when I'm inside of the task applet, one of the newer features that we have within task is we have the color-coded task to do statuses. So we have past due in red, so red, code red. We have due today in orange, due tomorrow in yellow, due next week in green, and due later in purple. So after we have actually entered in, or before we enter in our actual activity from tracking how many listing appointments we went on, buyer appointments we went on, this is where we can actually create a new task and associate it not only with said contact that we spoke with today, but we can also set up an actual opportunity task to show you all the tasks that you may have with an active listing or an active buyer if you would like to set it. I promise you this, both contact task and opportunity task are utilized. Most agents really just stick with contact task just because Hey, I just want a reminder set so that I can just go ahead and actually complete the said task that I want to do with our clients. I don't really need an opportunity task to tell me what I need to do here, there. I just need to know when I need to follow up with this client, what I need to do inside of Command. So that's going to trigger a domino effect of things that I will be able to complete. So first, we're going to look at contact tasks and then opportunity tasks. So for all tasks, we have the task name, the contact that is associated with the task. Task assignee will always say created by who and from where. The priority level, as well as the due date and status. Now, the last column is actions. You can either mark as completed, or you can select the meatball menu or options dots to either edit, reschedule this particular task. You can add a note, an additional note with the task, or you can just archive it, meaning I just set it as a task, more so of a reminder instead of a task to complete. So now I can actually delete this. So for example, it says remove, replace Martha.Hicks. For this example, I'm just going to select the options dot. Instead of saying edit, reschedule, or add a note, I'm just going to archive. So now it will give you the message saying, are you sure you want to archive this task? This is a permanent action that cannot be undone. Now the task will be moved to the archive tab. So the tabs that they're referring to, you will find on your task applet home screen here on the left, where you see tasks to do, tasks that have been completed, tasks that have been archived, as well as the expired task. And just like anything else inside of Command that you have to do a search for, there's always a filter that you can select. So the filter button is right next to the search bar. So once you select the filter tab, you can filter by all tasks, call task only, call task, which is a great segue. Task status, whether it's past due, due later, or set custom range. And then you can also sort it by priority level, whether it be high, medium, low, or none at all. Now, the beautiful thing about here is we have all tasks. All tasks would be something of the sort of if I need to schedule the stager for the MLS photos, I need to make sure that everything is squared away for this weekend's open house, or I need to actually send an email, follow up with the lender, all types of tasks related to you and your business. So that will be along the all task features. For call task only, if it's a call task only, we see a lot of our call tasks set up through our smart plans within the quarterly call plan, for example. So anything that you set here, if you create a new task, you may do so at the top right and say create new task. Now, from this task list details, a single task will be created for each contact. Now, to our discussion point earlier, if we want to actually have a task around, okay, great, we have the accountability measure by adding our activity tracking, or we're tracking our activity. Now, how do we track, get very focused on who are we tracking with that said contact? This is how we'll do it. Once we select the create new task tab, then now we get to associate a contact with a said task. So that's the very first thing we see here at the top. Here, we can say associate a contact with a specific task. So associating this contact with a task, let's just take another step back. This would activate this tab here. So if I've created a task and I associated said contact, then now I get to actually click on that contact's name, and it's going to take me to the contact details area. So this ties into any task that I may have for said contact. I will find it here on the right-hand side where you see task. And you see I have 2 for this particular client. So once I say task, I can also see it here inside of the contacts details area. And you'll find task in between smart plans and notes on the right-hand side. I can also create a task from the contact itself. So if I'm not in my task list and I'm actually going through my database and I'm being very focused and intentional inside of my database, and I just happen to want to add a task to said contact while I'm working in my database, I may do so by going directly to the contacts details card here, moving over to the task area here, and now I can say create a task, and now I will see the same form here. Now, once we have a contact associated with a specific task, the second option here, we also have this option to say mark as call task. So if this is a task that I need to actually follow up with said agents or said contacts, I may mark this as a call task. Once I do so, the task name will just simply say call Ms. Hicks. Then we also have task description. So if this is a call task, for example, we can also utilize the task description as either notes to remember while we're making our calls, and or this could be an actual script. Inside of the task description, we can actually type our actual script of what we're going to say or our real play, role play dialogue in the task description if need be. Then we can set the priority level, which is high, medium, low, or none. Then we also set the due date and time. We say apply, and then any additional details. If we need to add an optional link, maybe a link to your website, link to a landing page, maybe a link to their social media, if they have a Facebook or Instagram, for example, or a LinkedIn profile, just to reference. You can always add an optional link there. So in essence, our contact task or the task related to the contact is pretty much our guide. We can not only utilize the task description to actually plug in our dialogue, what we're going to talk about, or our main points in our follow-up conversation with this contact, but we can also add any additional details about the contact. If there's a Facebook page or a LinkedIn page where we have more of a profile on said client or contact, and we can just follow this along here. So for example, I'm just going to go ahead and create this task for class, priority level low. And I'm going to create the task. Once I create the task, now you see it is created here. And now it also gives us the status due today. So say I've actually already have called her before, and I've also done a referral follow-up. Now I can also, if I want to complete the task, I can just check this tab off. Now it's completed. Check the referral follow-up. The task is completed. And now you see here, I have just that one task that we just created together inside of the contact card. Not only can we see it with the associated contact, but we will also see this on our actual task list.
Jack, where does the completed tasks show up? Does it show up in activities?
I'm glad you asked. So inside of this same portal or this same area, next to the filter tab, we have a list where for said contact or contacts, we have tasks to do, meaning have not been completed yet. Now we can actually click this drop down and we can see our completed tasks, our archive tasks, as well as our expired tasks. So if I move through and move from task to do to completed tasks, now I see all of the completed tasks that I've done to make sure that I'm keeping track of what I've already done or what we've already completed with this particular buyer or seller.
Does it also show up in the timeline?
It also shows, so this is the timeline. So here inside of the timeline, this is just only going to show you either all activity, all meetings, calls, emails, texts, incoming, outgoing text, calendar events, notes, neighborhood search, favorite listings, user contact agent, as well as the task. Yes, sir.
Those completed tasks, oh, they're right there. Okay, they're at the top. You just did them.
Yes, sir. And then also another cool thing that you can utilize within the timeline area, once we have selected tasks, you can also set your next to it. We can also set a customized date range just to see what have we done within the last month with this buyer or seller. Great question. Thank you, Chris. And we also have a question inside of the chat, and we have, if the smart plan was to text client before we call, how can we verify that they were text? You will verify it in this same area inside of the timeline, and you can also select from all activity. So this is what it's going to look like from the beginning when we log in and we're looking at the activity of all activity. The text should show in all activity, but if you want to get very focused with all the incoming and outgoing text, you can change it from all activity to incoming text, outgoing text, or all text, if any text went out, or if you received a text back. All right, great question in the chat, great question. Any other questions revolved around activity tracking, around contact task, opportunity task, or understanding our task list? Come on, I know somebody has a question. If not, that just means everyone's tech enabled, and that is amazing. That's what we're looking for. You all are amazing.
Now, don't get ahead of yourself there.
Oh, don't get ahead of myself. I know you all playing it humble, but I know you all are tech enabled agents. You're in the ZAC, so I know you all are amazing. So, all right. So we went over the activity tracking, and again, just stay tuned. That is a feature that is coming soon. I thought it would be released by now. However, I know we're getting back from family reunion, so that may have been pushed back. And just stay tuned if you all would love to join us for our tech trainer call on Friday to get some more updates around that. Please join. And also we went over, and I believe that is 10 a.m. Pacific. Yes, 10 a.m. Pacific for that update call. And for the activity tracking, not activity tracking, for our task, we also went through and utilized and took a look at our new task area and kind of understood where we can filter out our tasks to do, our completed tasks, our archive, expired, as well as understand the clarity around just looking at only past due activity, due today activity, due tomorrow, due next week, and due later activity. Also of how to actually assign a contact, as we mentioned in our earlier discussion, if we've already followed up with this said client, or we now have a new lead and they're in our database. We also understood how we can actually create a task and associate that actual contact or new lead with this particular task. Before we wrap up, another thing I want to show you around task, you can also do it in bulk. If there was an actual task, we already know we can do it in bulk inside of our quarterly call plan. So if we're adding agents or we're adding clients to our particular smart plan, for example, quarterly call plan, the very first item we have inside of our smart plan for that one is a task, and it's a call task to call said John Doe, James Smith, and whoever else that is associated with that particular smart plan. And yes, that will tie into the task that you can see inside of your main task list, as well as your smart plans. You will be able to see who is assigned to the smart plan and correlate those individuals on the smart plan with your call task list. And again, just remember, once you have actually physically completed the task, you can click the check mark and move that into the completed area so that we can keep a track of who we've already called and who we still have yet to call, so that can so we can be very intentional about our lead follow-up. Also, if we want to select the task and select the bulk action, I'm going to just select the first 10 people. We're inside of my database on the very first page. So I'm selecting the first 10 people I see here in order to activate this select bulk action area. So same with this. Now, if I want to add a quick note to all of these people, I could do so. I can also go here and actually add an activity to these said clients. So then you can add an actual activity type, whether it's a meeting, call, email, text, note. that also will show inside of the timeline. So correlating the timeline of the activity and what we have done already or what we're doing with our database and tying it into our task and being very intentional and focused on making sure that we have our list, then that's going to help us in the long run. Because again, going back to our home screen inside of Command, one of the very first widgets that we see is our task list. It was amazing to see how many people and how many agents and family members we had during family reunion, either in person or virtual, that one of their biggest aha was not only to feed their database, but their aha was to really be intentional about their task list, because so many people actually overlook their task applet on the home screen as soon as they log into the command. Because what's one of the biggest things that they run into while bypassing the task list? I just want to get the contact in the database. I need to go into opportunities because I need to get paid. I need to upload my documents. Everybody's bypassing that. So one of the cool things we can always remember inside of Command is one of the very first things we see when we log in, besides welcome home, your name here, we will see our task applet. And another beautiful thing is you get to also, from just the widget, we didn't even get into an actual applet inside of Command. I can still see all my due dates of all of my activity, or all of my tasks, I should say, whether it's a contact task or opportunity task, if you have either or. And then I can create a task just from the home screen. I didn't even leave the home screen. I just went right here to the bottom bottom left of the task widget on the home page. I say create a task, and we're back at the same place. So we can create a task from our home page. We can create a task from our contact card, and we can also create a task from our task list, just to be very intentional about our day to day, as well as our week to week and month to month, which leads into our quarters for the year. Any questions or any additional questions around task, contact task, or how to manage or enter any of those tasks? All right, you all are awesome. Again, thank you so much. We have about, yes.
So sorry, I do have a question that's a little off topic, if you've got a minute, if you
Let's
don't.
talk about it. Yes.
So for several weeks, I was trying to connect my Google Calendar to Command, and it was a bug that I guess they finally got it worked out. So this morning I connected my Google Calendar through settings. My question is, how is that reflected now within Command?
With the Google Calendar, so let's take a look at it. Let's go back into settings, and let's take a look at what the description tells us and where we can find it inside of Command. So let me share the screen again, and let's lab this together. So inside of our connected applications page, this is where we will find our Google Calendar, your connect account. So it says create meetings and automatically sync theme. So when you're creating meetings on your Google Calendar, not only will this tie into your actual physical Google Calendar that you pull up through your Gmail, but this also ties into your contacts of meetings and appointments that you set with them, as well as any task or activity that you have. So if I'm setting up a task inside of the contact, not task, but an activity inside of said contact, and I have my actual Google Calendar set up, this is not only the emails I'll be able to see from them. This is a part of our Labs Advisor group where they send out the email saying an updated invitation with a note. But then also, if I ever say view calendar from Command, I can say view calendar here, and then whatever activity I add, whether it was a meeting or a call, then that also ties into my actual calendar here. So once I've actually said view calendar, it pulled up my actual calendar here. Tom, I think you're muted. Hey, Tom, Yeah, I'm sorry, we can't hear you. I think you're muted.
How's that?
Yeah.
Thanks very much. I've got to play with it. It looks like it syncs both ways is the idea. And I was curious if it picks up meetings that are already established going forward in my Google Calendar. Will it throw them into command?
Yes, and if it doesn't, I would just disconnect and reconnect. And if it doesn't work there, just submit that ticket and submit it to your
All right.
tech. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. Thank you. Any other questions related to anything within Command or anything with KW Technology? Let's talk about it.
Jack, I got a quick question for you.
Sure, Chris.
So on the mobile app, when I click on the home page, it brings up contact tasks, who to contact. And under who to contact, I have a designation leads never contacted. Where can I find that in the online version, in the main command?
The under contact task and the who to contact.
So again, this is on the mobile app. It says, contact tasks, due today, due tomorrow, due next week. But there's also a line that says who to contact. And one of the captions is leads never contacted. Where do I find that on the desktop version?
So leads never contacted. If we're going to the desktop version and we're here on the home screen, here we are. Inside of the home screen, you will see.
Can you share?
Oh, I thought I was sharing. Sorry. Absolutely. Here we go. So now I'm at the home screen. And then now if I scroll down on the widget area, I should see recent leads. And now it will show me the actual phone number and how long ago either that lead came in or basically the leads I have not contacted yet.
Okay. Okay, so that's going to show you the leads never contacted. Is that correct?
That is correct, because then, of course, if these are leads we have contacted, then we're unmarking these said leads as leads, because now they're no longer leads. We have actually met them. So now Tom James, James Thompson, Ashley Thompson, Zach, and my own brother, I'm dropping the ball because I haven't contacted them in months.
Okay, so I guess my question is, on my mobile app, it says I have 7 leads never contacted. Yet under recent leads, it is showing me 30 leads.
And you said,
how do I find the specific 7 never contacted?
Sure. So if we go into our contacts applet, inside of our columns area, you can also see, so I'm going to say customize columns because I took away some of this stuff. So now we have here where we can see recently active and last contacted. That is the same functionality inside of the mobile app. The mobile app will just, the command app will say leads never contacted, meaning because I have them marked as a lead, they're in my database, and I haven't reached out to them, meaning, and they haven't reached out to me, they haven't went through my website, they haven't called me, they haven't emailed me, and vice versa. So there's just a dormant lead just housing. So that will be under last contacted and recently active inside of our command desktop. And we will see, and we can sort by the date, whether it was last contacted, person I never contacted within months or years. It's just inside of the command app, it will say leads never contacted. It doesn't say leads never contacted inside of the command core. It will just only say last contacted or recently active leads.
Okay, so I would need to go into last contacted, then sort by and look for something that doesn't have a date on it.
Yes, something that either doesn't have a date or something that has an outstanding date, including this lead. This lead card here as well. And the beautiful thing, and that's a great question also, Chris, because then even inside of your what would be a nice leverage for our command app or our mobile app as well, is that if we have a list of leads never contacted, now from our phone, we can just start calling that list just from our phone. and then adding that activity from our phone, we can also see that activity inside of our database.
Got it.
Great question. Thank you
Oh,
so
this
much.
applies. There is a smart view for who should I call?
Ooh.
And I don't
Smart.
know if that
Who
would
should I
answer the
call?
gentleman's question or not.
So this is a two-part. You can also utilize the Smart View. Thanks for that, Tom. You can also utilize the Smart View inside of your database to say, Kelly, who should I call? Now, if I highlight over it, it also says it shows contacts that you have not contacted in the last 30 days. So let's go ahead and click on who should I call? And then now this is all the people that I haven't contacted within 30 days or more, because September of 2021 is more than 30 days. So now if I'm going down the list, I get to see everybody who I've last contacted from starting a month ago and back. So I went to last contacted and sorted this under the Smart View of who I should call within the last 30 days and back.
Hey, thanks, Tom, because in that list, at the very, very bottom of Smart View, it actually has never contacted.
Look at that.
Eureka.
And Tom, you tried to tell me you weren't tech enabled.
Now try to get him to change that from who should I call to whom should I call?
Whom I should call.
That's pretty good. That's the answer I needed though, Tom. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you so much, Tom. And another thing so here's another thing we see here. We don't see anything with recently active, and we didn't see anything with last contacted either. Like Tim and Charlotte, I'm dropping the ball on them. And Charlotte is an investor. So, and then here's now, if you scroll over, you can see the last time they were updated and when they were created as well. Awesome stuff. Any other tech mastermind questions you would like to ask? We have about 10 minutes to spare.
Jack, this is Bart. Along the same question, kind of like with Tom, I noticed when you were in settings and under the Gmail, Google, yours showed up under productivity. Mine actually is just under applications, and it shows that it is connected to my Gmail account. Is that a separate setting, or is it just something that's different on your particular system?
So let's go back. So for this particular setting, so we always have connected applications and connected apps here. And then we have Gmail under connected apps, and then productivity, we have Google Calendar, or may have marketing email services.
Okay, so I don't have Google Calendar under productivity.
Okay, so as long as you have Google Calendar, that's a-okay. The biggest thing is just being able to have the connectivity option versus where it actually is housed or where it's shown inside of settings. As long as you actually have the option to connect, that's what's most important.
Okay, because it shows that its status is connected to Google Calendar, but it's just in connected apps. It wasn't under that productivity tab.
Productivity, yeah. As long as they're under the full connected applications page, you're good to go.
Okay, and then I've got an issue that shows up on my Twilio account under messaging, and I can't seem to get it off of there. It says, please allow 72 hours for registration to complete. It's been on there for a couple of months. And it says carrier registration pending. And I don't know who to contact to possibly get that fixed. It seems to be working. And I do get texts and things are sent out under the Twilio.
Okay. I would just submit a support ticket and just make sure that your tech trainer or Zach is CC'd on that.
Okay.
To still let them know, hey, my Twilio works. I'm still able to use it. However, I still have this messaging, and just add that screenshot so that it could be something that the development team can calibrate on their end, or there's something that just hasn't been on their radar. So
Okay, all right,
this is the
thanks.
first time I've ever heard of that. I don't know if
Okay.
anyone else have heard of that, but yeah, I was just submitted support ticket just to be on the safe side.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Bart. Thanks, Tom, and thank you, Chris. Any other questions? If not, we can give you all 8 minutes back. Oh gosh, I guess everybody really wants that 8 minutes. All right, so thank you again so much for this amazing lab session, as well as those joining on the recording. We had a great time going over our activity tracker coming soon, as well as our just getting in a little more attentional with our task list and how to associate it with our contacts. And we also lab today where we can find our whom we should call, as well as our leads never contacted. And one of the beautiful things is, again, it's a smart view that's already there that was set up for you. So that could also beefing up your lead generation at a high level. So thank you all once again. I will let Zach know how amazing you all are as always. And we will all see you again on March 21st, same time, different day, Monday, March 21st. At 12 p.m. Pacific. So see you all there, and hopefully we'll have some more great features to show you all then. And knock on wood, there's some coming soon. You didn't hear that from me, but I'm very excited to mastermind with you all. So thank you so much for being here. Have a great evening and kill the rest of the week. Let's go. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.